Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session. So this is going to be a fireside with 12 by 12, and right here I have Jan, sorry. Hey, Jan, welcome.
Hey, Michael, welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And yeah, kind of like let's go ahead and start by kind of like introducing to the audience, like who are you, how did you get into crypto, and kind of like how are you getting into the industry as well?
Yeah, Michael, my name is Jan. I'm one of the co-founders of 12 by 12. The other founders of mine is Michael and Philip. My background is I've been in the blockchain space since 2017. So my background is actually I'm a lawyer. I was a copyright and media lawyer for 10 years, and then I founded my first startup that was dealing with still imagery, where we actually were developing a crawler in the internet that actually was searching unlicensed images. And in that case, we tried to solve the biggest problem, actually documentation of license change and all that sorts of stuff. So that was my first touch point. But my real background is like I always was working with the music industry, and I always had like one eye on the music industry. And as NFTs are nothing really new in that space, but for a lot of other people, I was just waiting until that kind of thing get a little bit more attention by the mainstream side. And then we were founded, but then we founded 12 by 12 in March 21, which actually is a NFT marketplace and tries to help to convert artists into Web3.
Nice. And then why kind of like the music industry, and like did you tackle the music industry for like NFTs?
The first thought was I think it's a perfect fit because music in the end combines a lot of things together, and everybody is in the end a music fan. And on the other side, I think there is not really another IP area where so much content is actually created, and so much content is also lying in all the back catalogs that is so worthwhile to look at and actually to translate and convert into the Web3 dimension. Let's put it that way. So that's actually where we are coming from. The name 12 by 12 comes from the inches, from the vinyl inches, 12 by 12. And I think that's a very good thing to compare it, because the vinyl was the last really successful distribution mean on the music side, which is actually actually can be easily compared with an NFT if you're not talking about consuming music, but also more own music in a newly sense.
Yeah, we're starting to see a lot of artists now jump into kind of like the NFT scene. Well, for better for worse, but we're we're seeing a lot of brand new use cases that are being utilized with it as well. Like, for example, like Snoop Dogg dropped his one of his albums with Gala Games and was able to make it to where it's like Gala nodes and music nodes and stuff like this. Like, it's now starting to become a little bit of a bigger thing. And I think that with the music IP rights as well, like a lot of people in the industry was starting to find a way to kind of cut out the middleman of a lot of the deals, and also retaining their kind of like their community structure as well. So yeah, so kind of like migrating to the next question, from like the Web 2 way, like the current standards that we have now, like why is Web 3 needed in order to kind of transform the space to make it to where artists have more rights and basically more money with their creativity as well?
Yeah, I think that's you really hit a point here. I think that's actually the key question. So I think if you look at the possibilities, what NFTs are, or what what blockchain does in the end, and how you can utilize it to any way to give artists and fans a better relationship to, I think that's key to answer. And there are two things to look at, and also some takeaways we had, like in building up that NFT marketplace. One thing is, I think it's totally mistaken that you can take any kind of content, put it into an NFT box, and then make a lot of money with it. It's still, content is king, and if the content is not good enough, nobody will buy it. That's the one thing. And on the other side, I think it's super important to look at the personas which you are actually talking to. So there is, on the one side, there is the crypto enthusiast that obviously is very keen on having like these very well formatted NFT topics so that he actually can, in the end, day trade with it somehow. And on the other side, you have the real, you have a music fan, which might be tech savvy, but is not so much into blockchain. So, and I think, having said that, you need to build up NFTs in kind of NFTs campaigns, and that's what we are actually doing. So we try with NFTs, or utilize NFTs to actually get a better connection between the fan and the artist, in providing the fan affordable NFT contents and high quality contents. And that also can start with we call it, we always like start our NFT campaigns with a campaign, with a campaign kickoff token, let's put it that way, which actually ensures, where we explain the fan, the normal music fan, a lot about what is happening, how do you use it, what is in Discord channel, how do you can use that things. Because most of the people, if you look out there, and we are talking now, if we talk between us, we all know what it is, but the normal music fan normally doesn't know. But the NFT topic or the blockchain topic gives high possibilities actually to use it to get that fan engagement on another level. And last but not least, I think if you talk about Web 2 to Web 3, if you then in the end can implement into the NFT specific real value rights, that's how some of them already did it, like the Nastrov implement kind of streaming rights, for example, or whatever. I think then you really can see what the power of Web3 if you really can deal with real value assets in that kind of field. So
yeah, like the like I would say, like if you're looking at like the crypto community, like when you say, hey, look, like I'm releasing a song, it's an NFT, everyone understands what that is, and there's like different rights to it. You're telling someone that's, in the regular sense, like, well, where's your album? Like, how do I hold your album? How do I physically hold your album? But it's kind of like another thing that I also think that it really tackles is that if you kind of like remember pirating back in the day when people were using like LimeWire and things like that to download music, there is going to be that copyright constantly, even if those different types of functions. But I think that now that actually owning the actual identity of the data from the NFT, so whether it's like the true ownership of like having the song, and the song has rights on there, where it's like I can play this at any type of distribution partner because I actually physically own the song and I have the rights to it as well. So like, do you start seeing a lot of artists now switch towards I would say like that this is inevitable, like this they're gonna have to switch it into a way to where they are gonna go into NFTs, even if it's whether it's like a front consumer facing type of style, where it's like a platform where the backend user, the user doesn't know the backend. They're just like, oh, I'm just buying this item off of this marketplace like iTunes. But in reality, in the backend, I physically, well, not physically, I virtually own the digital rights to this item.
Yeah, I think that's a super important part. If you look at, I mean, that's what I said in the beginning. If you look at Spotify, for example, or any other streaming services, this is music, how you consume music. This is the new radio station you actually listening into. So if you don't pay your subscription anymore, your playlists are gone. So it's not like back in the days when you actually had CDs or even vinyl, which you actually physically could own. But people want to own their own collections, and I think that's definitely something where NFTs come in. But it's not enough, because you have to think one step further down. You have to actually not only own it, you actually have to give them something more evolutionary, so I think the connection on the one side, actually owning music, and on top of it, not only owning music in a private sense, but also be part of the creation or be part of specific rights of that specific work piece, I think that actually gives you even more value. And on the other side, it needs to be like the direct contact between the fan and the artist, because the fan loves normally the artist if it's a real diehard fan and he wants to support the artist without having, let's put it that way, the middleman in between. But anyway, I think it's but you have a lot of other challenges, like if you have an NFT, how do you play it, how do you see it, how do you really can use it in the end, like if you look at the broad audience and not at like, okay, I'm keeping this as a collectible, I'm hoping that it's going to make some money and then I'll sell it again. That's not actually I think that's not the long-term goal if you look at the music industry. So you really have to build up a use case, and building up a use case means that you have to build up the community and the fan engagement. The relationship between fan and artist is in the end key. And what the artist gives to the fan, if it's like real ownership of a piece of work, then the fan will give something back. Or if it's like a one-on-one in a Discord channel, because he is very close to the artist, I think that's something that's super interesting, and that's where it all will go at some stage. And if you look at the drops you just mentioned, I think obviously they did it like in a perfect way, and that's how it in the end how it works. It doesn't only work because it's Snoop, it works how he actually built up the campaign.
Yeah, and I think that like we're starting to see the shift of a lot of more, like I would say, utility within it as well. So like artists, we started seeing kind of like, well, this is not the music side, but like Gary V being able to release V Friends and have one-on-one experiences, or having a way for you to FaceTime him, or a way to connect with your artist. So I think that that area is also another kind of like big area as well. That's that personal connectivity. And also merchandise can also there's so many different areas for, I would say, the revenue streams for artists, and also it helps connect them with their community more as well. So do you see kind of like the more of like the fan experiences of being able to get a certain drop for like backstage passes, or kind of like things like that within the future for like for the music industry?
I think it's a full package. I think it's like you can't you in the end, if you want to deal and if you want to build something up like what we are doing in the music industry, you can't just like pick one thing out and say like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. In the end, it all starts in building up the community and educate the community. If you have them build it up, then you actually can take them the next step and say like, okay, now you can own a piece of the artist. But how do you build it up? You obviously build it up if you take some analog some old school pieces, let's put it that way, some analog pieces like a whatever golden ticket, or a one-on-one with your artist, or a guitar lesson, whatever you name it, you can put anything in there. In the end, it doesn't really fulfill the sense of what an NFT is capable of and what it does, because it's like too much linked to still physical stuff, that doesn't really fit. It fits, but it fits to educate the people and bring them actually in to what is coming then on that whole journey later on. And I think that's so from my end, it's always like we try to build it up in that sense that we obviously implement real world, real physical values like merchandising products, because this is what people understand. They know what it's worth. They can compare it outside. They can go to a shop and say like, okay, a t-shirt is worth that, but I'm not so sure if a digital variable is worth that. Somebody, a gamer might know that, but like a tech-savvy music fan that never had been dealt with these things, he doesn't know that. So I think, and that transition phase is super important. And let me add one thing. You always have to, if you talk about music, you obviously have the labels in there if it's like from the right side. But normally now it is different. The artist, or if you look at the artist, they build up their own brands, and these brands are not related to any kind of label deals normally, or publishing deals. They can, so if I'm going out there and I say like, okay, I do a NFT if I give my profile for profile pictures and put that in an NFT, it doesn't touch anything of these label deeds which they're in there. So building up their own community, the artist can decide completely freely for himself without releasing any kind of music, So it's also an important part to see how you actually can freer and create other new revenue streams for yourself without actually sharing it with other partners.
Yeah, I think another cool thing that Snoop Dogg did was he basically signed. So there was he signed two Clone X's. So Clone X's from Artifact as as part of Death Row Records. So I think that was like another unique thing that was kind of like shifting. It's gearing that shift towards like the acceptance of more of the crypto community and kind of like more of the NFT space as well. Like just having now it's virtual artist. That the IP rights are then owned by the label, but also the distribution and stuff like that too is also given like kind of like creating a virtual persona of a new type of artist as well. Now, do you think for the artist, I would say like what is their number one concern when kind of like shifting from the traditional mainstream industry and like what they were used to with their record labels to kind of going into this new standard of like Web3 and NFTs and releasing out drops and everything?
Yeah, I think that's a super wide and question we could talk. We could have 1,000 fireside talks for that one, but I think what is important to know is like first you have to look what kind of artist you are talking about. Are you talking about an international star? He's anyway not like normally they don't have like, I mean, if they have label deals, they dictate basically the terms, because obviously everybody wants to have them. Normally they already have their own labels, their own publishing companies, they're completely free. But if you look at the emerging artists, which are super where labels is a necessary part in the whole industry. It's not a bad thing, they do great work. They basically finance, they basically do marketing, they help you with all the accounting stuff, everything an artist doesn't want to have anything to do with, just like so I think for the artist, the biggest concern is like, especially for an emerging artist, is like, do I frighten away partners I actually used to work with? And do I risk that they actually say, okay, then do it by your own and I won't do it with you? I think that's something where they actually always hesitate a little bit. And I think that's where you actually should take all parties along and actually do it like with them together. And that's also our approach, which is kind of successful. For the very smaller artist, that's a different thing, the guy that not like the one that is really on the emerging side, but like the real small one who has whatever 1,000 fans. He might has a huge opportunity in self-distributing via NFTs and building out his community, getting a better relation in, and actually starting the whole journey without even thinking about like talking to other parties. But it's also a very long way to go, and you always have to be careful to be too romantic about a music career. It's a tough job, we all know that, and it's new technologies won't change it in the end. It just like gives a better opportunity to use it and maybe a better way to actually achieve your goals.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like the it's the new wave that's coming. Like switching from analog back then and then going into CDs, going into virtual purchases through like through the digital sense, and now going into like this new structure as well. I think it's just kind of like waves that are progressing along. So I would say like one final thing is like for some of the audience, like how are they able to find out more about you and kind of be able to follow you on like socials, also like websites as well?
Yeah, we are on Discord. Discord, I think, is the best way to look into it, but also other Twitter, Instagram, and on our website. You can follow us, and yeah.
All right. Yeah, and it was great having you on today, and thank you for coming on for the one-on-one fireside chat, just to kind of be able to tell the audience and educate them a little bit more about what's going on in the NFT industry, especially for the music side, music sector. And yeah, hope to have you on NFTCon again.
No, definitely. Hey, Michael, thank you so much for having me, and great talk.
All right. Thank you.